Hey guys, welcome back to Musings with Maverick. I'm your host Maverick, and today we are going to be continuing Kotobuki, episode 7. So, last episode we got a little bit more backstory courtesy of Kirei. We know that the Yufeng, or Yuheng, are basically essentially outer worlders. The current prevailing theory is that they are Japanese that tried to get into this world during World War II. So they built bases here, manufactured planes to use to bolster their war effort back on our world. Once they lost or something, they all eventually went back, but they left their technology here for the inhabitants of this world to know. And that is how this world got the technology that they do have right now, including the airplanes. So it's just a theory, but so far it's the one that makes the most sense to me, and in any case. But, well, we shall just see, and see if there's going to be any further main story that comes along with it. In terms of the game, I did continue to play it for a little while. It seems to be doing okay so far. They hit over 1 million downloads already, which is nice considering it was only out for about, I don't know, 5-10 days, and they hit that mark. So a good speed, but as again I mentioned before, there's really not much to play in there. It's more of a press buttons and watch numbers kind of game. But I do notice that they're updating the UI, they're putting more and more systems in there, so that's a good sign at least. It definitely doesn't feel like a complete game yet, so hopefully they will do more to polish it up and really make it a good one. Otherwise, I think it would be a kind of waste of the subject matter, and not to mention developing all these characters, all these designs, so on and so forth. But yeah, it definitely still has a lot to go in terms of gameplay as well as balance. But in any case, if you don't play the game, ignore that. It's only open on the Japanese store, so if you really want to play it, you'd probably need to create an account that uses Japan as your home country, which I did. I do have this kind of account because some things I like are only restricted to Japan, so yeah, that's that. Alright, and let's get back to the anime right now. So let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh? And who are you? 70 years. Huh. Okay. Let me skip this real quick and I'll see you guys in a second. Alright, back. That was interesting at the very beginning with 70 years. Dang. You should know this. Dang. %3 performance drop at half price. No, I guess just not they're not exactly hurting for money. She just got a great instructor. I think my main pilot is actually Kirei. In the game, I mean. We lift down below. Huh, they lived underground? Alright. I guess we're getting more backstory. No, this is the guy in the beginning. The final report. The Yuhang showed up more than 70 years ago, so that actually throws that theory completely out of the water. うん。So are we gonna get a smile out of Kate last episode? I mean, at the end of the episode? Oh, they're trying to rebuild their squad. I think the old guy is speaking of some kind of dialect. I'm not that familiar with the different Japanese dialects, but it's not standard Japanese. Maybe a Kansai dialect? Ooh. Sabotage? Yeah. This isn't good, dude. Impeccable logic. Oh, that kind of makes sense. I remember they used this in the Gulf War as well. My memory is a little bit fuzzy on this, so I'll have to look it up. But I do remember this being a tactic uh, to get rid of fires like this. Oh. So that's why they were providing escort. Ah, it's 4 little planes. Probably just one of you Kotobuki pirates can... Oh, Type Force? Type 4s are like the most technologically advanced planes that the Japanese had during World War II. At least mass-produced, anyways. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Aim for weak points? Alright. Hmm? Nice. Hmm. This is the first time that they actually have met their match. I am surprised. Wow. Huh? This is a dive bomber, right? Oh, okay. Is he gonna, like, sacrifice him? Yeah, yeah. It's a dive bomber, so it needs to dive to bomb. Well, that's not good. Okay. What? That's... I'm pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to use a dive bomber, but okay. More? No, they just left. Alright. Probably has something to do with the oil company. I wonder if this is an actual book. Or is this like a parallel to what happens? Yeah. Okay. Oh. Actual plot. Okay, things are starting to heat up. And I'll see you guys after the ending. Okay, so it seems that we got a little bit more stuff in regards to the backstory, in regards to the whole Yu Hong thing. And we also have some hint of an actual main story brewing at the very end of this episode. So, a few things that we can talk about. First of all, though, so the first part where Kate was fighting Kile, or mock fighting, basically testing out the gasoline, a few things to mention there. First off, the maneuver that Kate put off is, I believe, called an outside loop. It's where your cockpit is inverted when you want to make a loop. So the difference is that you experience negative G's instead. So normally when you pull G's, you will feel yourself being pushed into the seat. When you experience negative G's, you'll feel like you're being pulled out of your seat, similar to, I guess, a roller coaster or something. So that was that part. I haven't really seen outside loops being done beneath. Like, I haven't seen it going down, looping downwards. I've seen it looping upwards. But I guess theoretically it could work. I don't think, aerodynamically speaking, there's anything why they couldn't do it that way. I've never seen it done that way, basically. But that was that. Kate also mentioned a part called knocking, and saying how having high octane gas can prevent auto ignition. So basically what she's saying and what knocking is generally speaking, when you're using a engine, there is something called the four-stroke cycle, right? So basically outside fuel enters in, and then it gets compressed, ignited, and then it flows out again. So there's 4 steps to this process. Normally speaking, you only want the gas to be ignited by the spark plug at that exact timing. However, because the pressure and the heat in the cylinders of the engine are so high, it's possible that the gasoline will spontaneously combust by themselves, and that is known as knocking. So that's not a good thing, because it makes your engine lose efficiency, and it also puts more stress on the engine. So really, when they're talking about engine performance, it's not just a matter of flying it a little bit slower, but there's also more wear and tear on the engine as well. And one of the ways that you can counteract that is using high octane gas. So it has a higher ignition point, so it will be less prone to igniting by itself. So that was, I guess, a sort of like a technical lesson that Kate taught us there. And then Alan, right? It's Kate's brother. So this part I was wondering throughout this whole episode, because that was kind of peculiar to me. Remember at the very beginning, when I was in my introduction or recap, I said that one of the prevailing theories right now was that the Yuhang are basically Japanese around World War II, who then essentially abandoned this place as a military production site. But that theory now seems kind of off if the Yuhang were here for 70 years. And what's even more peculiar about this is 70 years of being here, and yet at this time the technology level didn't really advance anywhere. They were completely stuck on World War II era technology. That's I don't know. I assume we're gonna learn a little bit more in regards to that, because Alan doesn't seem like just a side character who's going to never appear again. He also appears in the opening as well. So probably we're going to get more in regards to this in the future. But at least right now, it seems that the original theory has some holes in it. It could also be that they were actually trapped here. So it's, again, similar to what was mentioned before, but it could be that they were just trapped here for 70 years because the hole, or the sort of wormhole or something, disappeared, and then later on they were able to leave and go back again. So that maybe makes sense, but still 70 years of technological stagnation doesn't really seem all that plausible. But anyways, the part where they were trying to control the flames by dropping a bomb on it. So as I mentioned within this episode, this is something that's typically done, although I'm not sure if I've ever seen a case where they actually used a bomber to bomb the field. But at least one thing that is used to control these oil fires, or oil well fires, is to use dynamite to create an explosion, essentially starving the fire, blowing the fire away, and also removing air so that the rest of the oil can continue to flow without being ignited by the existing fires, basically. And typically you would use a charge of dynamite to blow up the fire like that. Here they decide to use a bomb. I guess technically it could work the same way, so I don't see a problem with that. Although I do have... The choice of using a dive bomber was kind of peculiar. I mean, I know they said they used an IED, so it was a makeshift device, but still, the reason you would want to use a dive bomber, which they used... Oh, by the way, the dive bomber they used in this episode was the Suisei, which was what the Elite Industries dude piloted. And the markings were the same as well, so I'm assuming that they went to Elite Industries and borrowed a dive bomber from them. But the reason why you would use dive bombers is because dive bombing is more accurate when you're trying to hit moving targets. And So the whole concept of dive bombing came around because when you're on a bombing run, if you're flying at a horizontal level and then you're releasing your bomb, the bomb is not just going to go straight down. It's going to go on a trajectory, sort of like this, because the plane's momentum will carry the bombs forward as well. So it would go forward and drop at the same time. Now, this means actually that it's really hard to calculate this on the fly in the sky. You would need some instruments and whatnot, but a lot of that era's instruments weren't that accurate as well, and lots of bomber pilots still preferred to do it by eye or manually. And so, in order to increase efficiency, dive bombing was invented, where you essentially kind of flew at the target as vertically as possible to eliminate any of the forward momentum. So the only forward momentum would be going straight down, and it would go directly to the target. And that is why you use dive bombing to hit moving targets, essentially, because you can't calculate on the fly. So that's why dive bombing is used against planes, against mobile target, not planes, sorry, against ships, generally speaking. So in this case, since it's a stationary target, I don't really see the point of using a dive bomber, but I guess they just used whatever they could whip up. Don't question it, I guess. But that was kind of peculiar. The pirates were flying Type 4s, right? They do mention as much within this episode. I believe Type 4s are Key 81 or 84. Basically, they are much more technologically advanced than the Hayabusas that the girls are flying. And also these Type 4s are, I guess, I said they were the most technologically advanced, but I still think the Type 5s are maybe even better than the Type 4s. But the Type 4s are the most mass-produced high-tech fighters that Japan had. So I guess that's debatable anyways. Actually, what was really interesting was that the girls finally met their match, right? Throughout all these episodes, all 6 prior episodes, the girls were essentially fighting 1-4, 1-5, even when the enemy had a technology advantage. And here, although they did still have the technology advantage, it seemed that they really knew what they were doing, right? In fact, all 4 of the enemy fighters survived, and that was against the entire Kotobuki squad, as well as two planes from the Nazarene squad. So yeah, it's the first. I guess this is what happens when you're not fighting run-of-the-mill pirates. And maybe I was being a little bit too harsh on the realism here when I said that these girls seem to be superhumans or superheroines. Although that does beg the question: like, are those air pirates just completely untrained or something? Like, I still find that hard to believe that each one of them can take on 4 or 5 times the odds with an inferior plane. So, oh well, but at least this does make things much more interesting, right? When they are evenly matched, and you can really get a sense of what should I call it? A sense of weight here, because it's not just going to be a case of, oh, they can all go in and they will all survive unscathed, right? In fact, within this battle, I think it was the Kotobuki squadron that lost, because even though they outnumbered the Type 4s, one of their own got shot down. I believe it was Zara, who had to make a forced landing, and also the 2 Nazarene dudes. One was completely shot down, one was heavily wounded. The plane heavily damaged, not heavily wounded. I mean heavily damaged. So yeah, that it seems that things are shaping up to be much more interesting, as well as there seems to be this conspiracy now that's brewing on, and that is going to involve the Kotobuki girls. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And yeah, that covers my review for this episode. I guess really the thing I want to know the most is in regards to Yuhang, and whether that backstory really has any relevance at all with this current story, the main story. But Let me know what you guys think. What are the newest theories that you have now that you have this new information regarding the 70 years? Like I said, for me, it's hard to devise anything because them being technologically stagnant just doesn't really make much sense to me. But let me know your thoughts. So that has been Kotobuki episode 7. This is Maverick signing off. See you guys next time.